Hi, job seekers. Welcome back to Let's Hear It From, a career podcast powered by My Job Factory, where we bring forward impactful voices from the world of leadership and HR to guide, inspire, and empower today's job seekers. But before we jump into today's incredible conversation with an incredible guest, let me ask you three questions. Have you ever felt that despite your skills, you couldn't express yourself clearly in an interview? Do you sometimes wonder that your body language is holding you back from making a strong impression? And how do I build the kind of confidence that makes recruiters and leaders take notice? If you said yes to even one of these, then today's episode is especially for you, because joining with us today is one Mrs. Junie George, who has been working at the intersection of communication, emotional intelligence, and human connection for over 2 decades. Junie is a certified communication and EQ coach trained with the International Coaches Federation and Dr. Richard Bandley's Society for NLP. She holds a master's in marketing and international business from IIFT Delhi, and she is the co-founder and CEO of the Fifth Mantra, which is an online training forum to enhance human skills and become impactful communicators. And as if this was not enough, she is also a trained musician, dancer, voiceover artist, and writer, bringing a creative depth to everything she does. What I like about Juni is she says something very powerful: how we communicate reflects how we feel. And today she is here to share how you, as a job seeker and professional, can master this art to build stronger relationships, ace interviews, and grow in your career. Juni madam, we are thrilled to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ajay. This is an absolute pleasure to be on a platform like this and to address students and all aspiring professionals who are looking at building not just a career path, but building more effective lives
Yes.
using communication as a tool.
With this, I quickly come to the first question. Juni madam, you have dedicated your career to helping people communicate with empathy and confidence. Looking back, what shaped your journey into this field?
I would say, Ajay, it's a combination of two factors.
Okay.
First of all, very early on in my career, and I could say even in my life, I have witnessed people struggling to be seen and noticed,
Okay.
whether
Right.
in the workplace or whether in their social circles. And it's not necessarily because they are less talented or they are less knowledgeable or even unkind.
Mhm.
The fact that they struggle to express their views with certain clarity has held back people many a time in not just making a difference, but also in doing things more effectively for themselves and people around them. So, keeping that observation in mind, I had seen how certain mistakes could have been avoided, or maybe certain things
Right.
could have been stated differently if only people were aware of it. The
Great.
second
Correct.
factor is my own personal life, being part of an armed forces family. There was a lot of
Right.
movement, a lot of shifting that
Right.
happens. So that would mean exploration, trying out different
क्या
roles,
बात
experimenting with different job profiles. And in all of this, one thing that remained constant was communication skill.
Great.
I belonged to or what role I played. But the fact that I could connect with people and make a difference in whichever workplace I was a part of added to my conviction that this was one skill that was not being paid enough attention to. So, my interest in it and my curiosity about the subject led me to further explore till I discovered a new angle, the angle of EQ, without talking of EQ, because both are very, very closely intertwined,
Yes.
right? So, as you mentioned in the beginning,
Yes.
that is something that I often say
Yes.
that what we
EQ.
feel
Yes.
is going to influence the way we respond and vice versa.
Yes, EQ. I'm coming to that question because I am also very curious about knowing and understanding EQ. But before that, let me just stretch this question further. I see, I have been interacting with a lot of job seekers as a professional recruiter myself. Many job seekers today are struggle with confidence during interviews, although they have got all the skills in place, the degrees in place.
Yes.
But from your experience, what simple yet powerful steps they can take to project authenticity and calm under pressure?
If I would put it as a single word, Ajay, it would be preparation.
Okay.
This word authentic or being natural is
Yes.
often, I would say, misused or misunderstood. Being authentic does not mean you go in, how well do you know this organization that you're applying to?
Okay.
Do
Right.
you know well enough about the job description, about what responsibilities that role entails? What are the qualities the organization is looking for in the candidate they
Absolutely.
want? So, are you aware of that information, those input? It just cannot be taken as, I have one resume and I'm going to apply for 20 roles
Indeed.
and I'm going to walk in with my natural self. It doesn't work that
It
way.
doesn't work that
The
way.
second preparation, I would talk in terms of the mental part, or let's say the emotional part. And this is where I would also bring in communication. The reason why I'm mentioning communication here is we have to stop looking at interviews as a question and answer forum or as a stage for a performance. A performance mindset cannot work mindset to connect and build rapport with people. Because who you see as interviewers today on that panel, tomorrow could be your colleagues. And it is a starting point to build your network. We often don't understand the significance of building networks or looking at networking as an art right from the time we are students. We think this is something we should do once we are professionals or once we are a part of the professional world, but it starts way earlier. And in this rapport building, the mindset matters. Are we looking at people merely as resources, or are we looking at them as living beings with whom we can connect emotionally? Because however we would like to apply logic to everything that we do, the fact remains at the end of the day, we are influenced by our emotions. And we are going to be influenced by people who make us comfortable. So even in an interview, the panel is going to watch out for certain parameters. It doesn't matter which company, which industry.
Which, right.
Everyone wants team players.
Right.
Everybody wants
Yes.
decision makers.
Yes.
Everyone wants someone who can handle a crisis and work well under pressure, right? There
Right.
is no one who would say, I don't want these abilities.
Right.
And that has got to do more with the emotional
Okay.
landscape of a person more than just skills. The third thing of preparation
Go
I
ahead, sir.
would focus on would be body language. And this is one area which I would say is an area that holds a lot of interest for me and something that I spend a lot of time on while working with people. Even in my organization, we have ensured that EQ elements and non-verbal elements are given a lot of priority in all our training programs. Um, when it comes to body language, there is a myth that you cannot really train in it, or you will end up looking fake. So I'd
Right.
like to address that bit
Yes.
of it. It is true that a large part of our body language is controlled at a subconscious level. So that means what we feel, the body is going to reflect. So just training one part of it. To give you an example, nervousness, people think I'll put on a smiling face that will mask nervousness. But the thing is, a body has its own ways of communicating
Right.
what is going on in your mind. So your face may be smiling, but your hands may be shaking, your body might be stiff, and even the manner in which you're blinking your eyes, the speed at which you're speaking, the tone of your voice, all of that will indicate what exactly you are experiencing at that moment. So when we talk of body language, it would be unfair to look at it as only gesture, only face, or only posture. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
It's always, as we call, a cluster. A
But
cluster of
Junie,
cues is how we refer to
yes,
it.
I have a query here since we have, discussed body language in such detail. I have met a lot of people, in fact, even you must have met a lot of people who are experts in faking body language. So, how to identify
Right.
them?
First of all, we have to be very clear what is the kind of perception we want to create. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, when you walk into that interview room or that meeting room, even before you begin speaking, people have started making a perception about you. That
Right.
includes judgments and sometimes even biases. right?
Hmm.
So we have
Hmm.
to be very clear what is the perception we want to create. That does not mean being false or fake, because all of us have abilities, we have competence, we have skills. So, can we look for ways in which we can highlight our best self? It is not about creating a new person or a different person.
Right.
What we have,
Yes.
can we make sure we don't focus on the areas, things that highlight our weaknesses? Can we instead focus on how we can highlight our strengths? Some people are very good in terms of their listening skills, but they may not be very effective when it comes to speaking. Now, you might say that how can you even make a difference at a workplace if you're not good with speaking skills? The point is, everyone is eager at speaking, but there are very few people who can listen intently and
Right.
effectively. So you do have a role to play. You think you're an introvert, you think you're shy, you are a poor communicator. There are lots of ways in which I can change those ideas that you carry to make you understand you still are
Yes.
an effective communicator, and there are ways to highlight how you are a competent professional using nonverbal.
Amazing, amazing. But then, how to identify people who are faking? So, is it is it possible to fake body language? Because I've seen people experts in that. So how to identify those people?
Just like the example I mentioned earlier,
Okay.
you can fake a smile, you can fake expressions,
Mhm.
right? But I don't think any human being has reached that level of competence where I can doctor my subconscious mind and completely alter the way I feel. If you have a look at some of these public figures, there are
Right.
so many
Right.
moments, whether it's in political arena or it's our
Actors.
regular media celebrities.
Yes, celebrities,
Yes,
actors.
they are good at expressing enthusiasm. They can, you can say, fake confidence. They
Yes,
can
yes.
fake
I'm
friendliness.
yes.
It is possible. But can you
Okay.
sustain it? Can you
Yeah.
do it
Okay.
at every waking moment,
Yes.
at every
Yes.
up? And that's when there are enough people ready to pounce on them
Right. The mask eventually
that
drops
look,
down. Yes.
exhibiting their weaknesses or flaws. Yeah, it's unfair because
It's
all
unfair.
of us do put on certain masks in the roles that we play,
Right.
right? So it's a bit unfair to target people who are in the line of time. So they have to put on a certain, you can say, performance in front of people because they have to match the perception. So, whether it's at the workplace or in our personal lives, we are catering to perceptions of people around us. There is no point in denying that. But the fact is, how much of ourselves are we willing to improve and put out there in front of people? A lot of it can be managed with nonverbal. Awareness
Right.
helps, right? It is not about getting a foolproof image or a foolproof perception, but
Person.
awareness helps. So then we can, ensure we don't create misunderstandings, because miscommunication, a lot of it happens not just because of the way you speak, it's also in the way people perceive.
Right. Juniji, just an extension to the same question you have, got into the details of body language into so much details. Is it okay? Is it dangerous? Or is it something normal to be an unmasked person throughout his life? What is your take on that?
Um, when you use the word mask, it kind of signifies a false version. But here I would like to ask a counter question.
Okay.
What do you think is the actual purpose of communication? Why do we communicate?
Because we want to tell something to others, we want to express our feelings. There is some work we have to get it done. If, whether it's a job interview, for example, if it's a job interview, I want that job, so I communicate through my body language, through the words, through the skills. I present myself. It's a combination of everything: my body language, my intelligence, my CV, my education, the words, and yes, the mask also at times, if at all I'm wearing it. It
Right.
has to be that way.
That is how we do it. But
Yes.
why do we communicate? As you said, it is to share information or
Yes.
to kind of present ourselves. The key thing, no matter which language we use, whichever methodology we use, we communicate to understand and to be understood.
Okay.
Putting it very simply, right? That is the purpose of communication. Now, when I say to understand and be understood, that means it can only happen when we connect with people. And that connection is something where communication plays a huge role. It plays a huge role. A lot of people think communication is just limited to giving a speech or making a
Okay.
presentation or
Right.
giving an interview,
Yeah.
right? Communication is something we live with every single day
Single.
with
Yes.
every person we meet, whether it's your street vendor, your shopkeeper,
Right.
your neighbor,
Absolutely.
your family
Family
members,
members.
or even your workplace, your clients, your subordinates. You are constantly meeting people. And what do you do to connect with them? Whether you use sign language, whether
Fine.
you use any formal language, the fact remains we are connecting using communication.
Right.
That is the significance of this skill. And
Right.
that is why I often say it cannot just be called a soft skill, making it look optional. This is a
Okay.
life skill.
Right.
There is no choice here. You
Nice.
cannot negotiate with whether you want to have the skill or not. Everyone needs it. But at the same time, the fact remains it is a trainable skill. There are no born communicators. This is not a gift. This is a skill that can be improved with training and practice. And most importantly, everyone needs to get better at this skill.
Absolutely.
Whether you are a junior employee, back-end employee, front client-facing employee, or you are a homemaker, it does not matter what role you play. Everyone deserves to get better at communicating because that ensures they connect better with people. So now you tell me which industry or which role or which individual can be exempt from
Exempted
working on their
from
communication skill,
communication skill.
right? So
Absolutely.
now non-verbal plays a very, very important role. So when I'm talking of bettering my communication skill, it includes non-verbal. It's not about creating a mask. It is about communicating effectively. Now, for example, if I'm not aware that when I'm talking to someone, I constantly get distracted with my eyes. Maybe I'm not aware. I might be paying attention, I might
Right.
be listening. However, the person who's talking to me gets the feeling that I'm not interested in them, or I
Okay.
am not willing to talk to them merely because I'm looking away. So if I am told about it, and I work on paying attention, on improving my eye contact, understanding the types of eye contact to make sure I don't make someone uncomfortable. Tell me, would that be considered being fake, or would that be considered being a more effective communicator who can connect easily
Oh,
with people?
I see. Effective communicator.
That is what we are striving for,
Yes.
right? It is not for performance. As I
Performance.
said, even in an interview, every student, every professional needs to remember you are walking into that room not for a performance. It
Oh,
is not to fake what you know and what you feel. It is to make them understand you exactly what you know and what you feel,
absolutely.
but in an effective manner, not in a manner where they misinterpret you, right? We can avoid that risk if we get more and more aware about our nonverbal communication.
Wow, such an apt and in-depth answer, Junie ma'am. I come to your favorite question, and that is on emotional intelligence, which I always called as a career superpower. So, how can early stage professionals, or even early stage careers, freshers, professionals, start building it in their day-to-day life?
EQ, as you may be aware, and for a lot of people who are watching this, you may be aware of the Daniel Goleman model of
Right.
EQ, where they talk of four main parameters, which is self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and social skills, right? Then, of course, there is a additional fifth element of empathy
Right.
also that is included. However, let's look at just these four parameters. Self-awareness. A lot of times we ourselves are not aware what we are feeling. And it's important to give a name to what we feel. to name those emotions, right? When we are scared, we end up taking out our anger on someone else.
Right.
But we are not able to recognize it is stemming from fear. It is not out of anger. So that awareness where we introspect, we analyze, what am I actually feeling, putting a name to our emotions, understanding how I react with different people in different scenarios, in different situations, that awareness cannot be taught. That awareness can only be enhanced when someone asks you questions. Right? So if you have a guide or a mentor or a coach who asks you those specific questions, that's when you start thinking. And because none of it is rocket science. All of it are things that we are living
Right.
with, we are dealing with. But the only difference is we haven't really given a thought to it. And sometimes that sensitization can change our lives. So
Right.
self-awareness, it begins with the self. As all the great thinkers, whether it's Rumi or Gautam Buddha, they
Right.
all talk
Absolutely.
about this. It begins
Yes.
with the
Right.
self, right?
Right.
So
Right.
same is the case with EQ. Before you start to analyze or understand someone else's emotions and responses, how well aware are you of your own? So
Mm,
it has to begin with that question.
Yep.
Right. Second point, self-regulation. Now, let's say you have identified you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling happy. There is a need to regulate that emotion. Being angry does not mean I go around flinging things or
Mhm.
hurling abuses at people or shouting and creating a scene. That's a lack or a loss of regulation, right? So just saying that I am a person who has a temper problem, that awareness alone is not enough. Now it
Mhm.
has to translate into regulation because we are
Mhm.
living in a community. We
Community.
are living with other human beings. Imagine if every
Right.
person goes around losing regulation that way, right? We just have chaos. Then there is no
Correct.
intelligence at all existing, right? So that regulation can only happen if I'm aware of what is happening. So that's why awareness first, regulation second. If I'm already working on myself, if I'm aware of myself, now is the turn to extend that understanding to the society around me. So that is social awareness. There are people who are very intuitive, right? They are able to pick
Right.
up when someone is not feeling great or someone is not being real. They are saying something, but they are indicating something else. We all
Mhm.
have that sixth sense, right?
Right.
At some point or the other, we have that inkling something is not right. So there is a social awareness. But how well are we taking it forward? Are we working on it? Are we turning it into a skill that matters? And finally, the last, the social skill. And that's where the connecting happens, where communication is coming in. Because let's say I'm sitting in a very public space, I'm sitting in a garden, and I'm watching people go by. I might be socially aware, but am I connecting with all the joggers and all the people who are sitting in the park? No.
Mhm.
That can only
Mhm.
happen when I go up to them, I communicate or I interact, I ask questions. Emotionally, I make them comfortable. That's when a connection happens. So that's social skill, which comes right at the, you can say, at the end, after all these three stages are done. So putting all of it together in a
Right.
capsule, we call it emotional intelligence.
Wow. Such an eye opener.
Yeah.
Madam, in your experience, what's the biggest communication mistake job seekers make when trying to impress recruiters, and how can they avoid it?
You've literally given me the answer in the question itself. The very fact that trying to impress, right?
Oh, I
That
see.
that
That's it.
itself takes
That's it.
away
Right.
everything from
Yes,
whatever
plain
they
gold.
are communicating, right?
Yes.
So
Amazing, right?
I would suggest uh, to students, especially because see, nervousness is a reality. And I do not subscribe to the theory that, it's only in the beginning that you're nervous, later you aren't. You talk to any of the, most established communicators, world's leading speakers, or you could say experts in any field. They would have given hundreds of speeches, hundreds of interviews. But the minute they go in for the millionth interview, they are still nervous. And it's a good thing. There is nothing wrong in feeling nervous or being nervous. In fact, it's like a check mechanism to make sure you're thinking and you're present and you're on your toes. The problem is when others also can witness or understand that you're feeling nervous, right? So feeling it is not the problem. Showing it or projecting it is the problem. And that can be worked on, right? Like I said earlier, this is a trainable skill. The ability to walk in, project confidence, to communicate in a particular manner, it can be trained. It's not that we are aspiring to become the world's best speaker, but the level we are at present, can we get better and higher than that? Everyone can, right?
Yes.
So it is not about
Yes.
reaching one particular level, but wherever you are currently operating, there are issues that you will be facing, whether it's with people or whether it's with making the most of opportunities. So from that level, can I get better? Yes, you can. But for that, it's just like fitness. Nobody is
Right.
born
Born.
fit, right?
But
We are born
we
with a
have
certain degree of
degree.
health,
Yes.
but you have to
To
build fitness.
yes.
And it
Uh,
requires a person who can guide you, a person who can point out to you what are the areas where you need to work more, what are the areas you're already good, so you just have to maintain it. It requires that kind of guidance, but it needs consistent work, consistent practice. That's how you maintain and get fit.
right.
Same is the case with communication, and that's why we call it the Communication Fitness Studio, right?
No
A
wonder.
skill that can be constantly trained, constantly maintained, and gotten better. And there is no one who cannot benefit from it, right? It's a lifelong process.
Lifelong.
If someone
Absolutely.
asks me, can I get or become a good communicator in 6 months? I'm sorry, that doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work.
But yes, there are certain areas maybe which you can get better in 6 months. But to think of communication as something that can be compressed into one seminar, one tutorial, one workshop, it doesn't work that way. It's a constant process, right? The more you evolve, the more you grow, the more number of people you meet, the more kind of diverse situations you handle, automatically your confidence grows, your self-awareness grows, and that's how you become a better and better communicator. But I don't think anyone's hit the bullseye as yet.
No, but madam, there is one personal question from my side for for once for someone like me, and I meet a lot of job seekers, even founders also, who are not natural communicators. See, we have got skills. Maybe if somebody is a good salesperson, maybe somebody is good in coding, but I see a
Yes.
lot of people, including me also. I'll give my own example. I am not a natural communicator. So, what encouraging message or
Okay.
what practice would you share to people like us? Communication doesn't come to us naturally. So, is there any pill, some capsule you can share and we can practice on it and
First of all, natural communicators, we all are communicators, right? Right from the time we are infants, there is a lot of emphasis on nonverbal communication then. Our sounds, the way we cry, or even once we are able to focus our vision, the way we look at faces, the way we recognize and show different responses to different people. So mothers are, naturally, they have the aptitude to pick up these nonverbal cues. And possibly that is why nature has, probably given women that edge when it comes to nonverbal communication, because they will have the requirement to use it once they have a child. However, coming back to the question of, being a natural communicator, we all are communicating day in and day out. We all have reached certain stages in our lives, built relationships, connected with people, achieved things because we are communicating. But now the
okay.
key question is it effective?
Oh, I
Can
see.
it be made more effective? So all students who are, aspiring professionals, it's not that they are not communicating. They all have built their own networks. They have built their communities, their social groups. They are communicating with faculty. So throughout their, I would say, life, they have been communicating. But now, as they're stepping into the professional world, there is the fear or the doubt that is it effective enough?
Right.
Will this skill that I have currently help me transition into the workplace where I will have to constantly interact with new people, right? It's no longer people I choose to interact with. It's no longer my family or my friends. These are going to be people who are going to judge me, who are going to evaluate me, who will be sometimes even unfriendly to me. Will I be able to hold my own? Will I be able to make an impact? These are some of the questions that young professionals will be having in their minds. And that's where, again, I will come back to the point of
Point.
preparation.
Oh, I
It
see.
can be,
Right.
it can be built, right? But how do you build it? Now, it's like letting you go into a gym on the first day.
Mm-hmm.
What do? Everything is there. You have your treadmills, you have your weights, you
Mm-hmm.
have all your push-up equipments, you have everything. However, how do you decide which one to
Right.
begin with? Which one is most appropriate for you? And what is the kind of training pattern I should follow? It
Oh,
can get overwhelming, right? You can't just run around in a gym and do everything that's
everything.
available there.
Yes. Yes.
And the net result could be actual physical injury.
Injury.
And that is
Right.
something which we can witness. We know it because it hurts. There might be damage. We might be, advised bed rest because of the injury. Those are signs that are easily seen. However, with communication skill, the problem is the signs may not be visible immediately.
Oh,
You
I
end up,
right. Mm.
behaving in an inappropriate manner. You speak in an insensitive manner, or you kind of treat people in a manner that is not very positive. You might not get to see the result immediately, but the
Oh,
results will catch on, right? There will come a time where you will have to end up bearing the consequence of incorrect or ineffective communication. So preparation is key. The earlier we start working on these skills, the better it is. And please do not look at skills only for something to land a job or to rise
mhm,
at the workplace. These
mhm,
are skills that will help you live life in a more effective manner, because we are not only professionals, right? We are individuals with our own set of skills, emotions, experiences, and there's a lot we can offer to the world out there in our own ways. It's not that only when you reach higher management, only then you can
mhm.
contribute to the world. You can contribute every single day in the manner, in the way you interact, the kind of inputs you give, the kind of support you give, and the way you are able to get people together and hold them together. These are skills that are invaluable, right? I would call them some of the biggest assets that one
Absolutely.
can build on. So, for students, I would say that uh, get help. Don't think that these are skills that you can build on your own just by seeing a couple of YouTube videos. Awareness is good, knowledge is required. However, how do you apply that knowledge? That's where guidance matters. When someone can actually observe you, give you feedback, these are the areas you can really make a difference. These are the areas you're really good at. So highlight it, use it more. That kind of advice is what is priceless. Otherwise, knowledge is already out there, right? It's there for everyone to access.
Yes, such an insightful and a deep answer, Junie ma'am. I come to the final question. This is not the final question of this episode. There are two another questions coming. My finally, I come to what is that one life lesson about communication that has stayed with you and that you wish every professional should carry with them.
The fact that communication is actually in the way we not just transfer our message, but it's also in the way we make people feel. That is often not realized or it's ignored. It's something I agree with Maya Angelou when she says that very famous quote of hers: people may not remember what you said or
Right.
what you did,
Mm-hmm.
but people will remember the way you make them feel.
Wow.
And communication can be a beautiful, a magical tool that can help you build those priceless, invaluable connections with people, right? And that is one lesson which a lot of us have
Yes.
learned the hard way.
Hard way. Absolutely.
And so, if someone had told us this when we were in our teens or when we were just beginning our careers, so many mistakes, so many workplace issues could have been prevented, and if
Right.
not prevented, at least downplayed.
Mm.
So it was a wrong handling or an inappropriate way of judging people that could have, exaggerated those issues. So that is one lesson of communication which I really, really believe in, and I wish people understand the significance of communication is actually in using it as a tool to make people feel comfortable.
Amazing, amazing, Junie ma'am. It was such a learning experience. I am done with questions from my side, but there are two stellar questions from two stellar students from Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce, Pune.
Right.
They have, joined us in this episode. There is one student.
My name is Suvrat Balaji, a student at SY at Symbiosis College of Commerce pursuing BCom ACCA. And my question is, if you were a student in 2025, how would you prepare yourself for the today's corporate world?
Okay, that's a good question and a relevant one at that. First of all, in terms of technical competence, there is no running away from the fact, right? The greater number of tools that have now come in at the workplace, it is much larger and much more than what it was 20 years back. And there is no other way around it than to train for it and to learn it. Right? One has to get comfortable with coding, one has to get comfortable with programming languages, and one has to understand AI is going to make a foray into every field. It is no longer only the domain of engineers or only the domain of software developers. Whichever industry you're going to be a part of, AI will become a part of it. So better not to make an enemy out of it. Get familiar with it. Right? So what are the different tools that can help you become a better graphic designer, a better copywriter, a better, trainer? We have to use these tools. The idea is not to look at tools as something that will replace us or to fear it in that manner. But can we use these tools to enhance it? Now think of all the implements that are there in a modern kitchen today. It was not there 100 years back, right? We had no food processors, no grinders, we had no microwave ovens. Does it mean that the human element of cooking has completely been taken over? No. Even today, there is a human mind that is creating those dishes, utilizing those implements to make cooking faster, more efficient, or sometimes even healthier, right? So similar is the case when it comes to AI. Now, the second skill, apart from technical skills, I would also look at the soft skills, because there is no replacement for human thought, for human empathy, and the ability to connect with people. You cannot outsource that to a bot and expect it to build a connection the way a human being can. So harness that power of soft skill. Right? The earlier you can start working on these skills, your communication, your behavioral approach, your mindset, and ability to handle pressure, your decision-making skills, these are things that can be improved on. Rather than wait for a moment when things are going out of hand and then trying to do firefighting, it rarely helps. And in today's times, it'll definitely be too late. Right? So to put it in a very brief manner, I would say technical skills, soft skills, both will have to be taken hand in hand. And that is the best way to prepare for the workplace.
Surat Balaji, definitely a amazing piece of advice to you. Second question is from Ayaan Khan. He says, in such.
Hello, my name is Ayaan Khan and I am from the Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce and I am in my second year. My question to you is, in such a fast changing world where AI has also become so common, how can a person like me, a student like me, can stand out from the crowd so that I get a good job in future?
In this entire discussion that we've had so far, a lot of it has been to do with standing out, has been to do with being noticed, being understood, and being a person who can connect well with people. So people skills are really going to emerge as an area to work on, right? So even when it comes to placements, you might wonder that how can people skills help me there? I'm just submitting my resume, I'm getting shortlisted, and but then the fact is that entire process is again manned by people. Yes, ATS might be there to screen resumes, but at the end of the day, you are going to interact with people. So can you develop your people skills? Really, really look at it as a skill that needs to be, developed in a stronger way. Keep gaining knowledge about it. What are the various aspects that constitute people skills? Where do I stand in each of these areas? Which are the areas that are lacking, where I can improve? That kind of self introspection, awareness, EQ comes into the picture. And putting it all of it together with communication will ensure your people skills will really zoom, right? And that will ensure you're noticed, not just in college, even at the workplace, even with your clients. So it's a steady process, right? The more number of people that you interact with, that will ensure you are able to handle diversity. And that's where I want to just bring in one element of the echo chamber effect. Because as students, we are often tempted to hang around with people who share our interests or who
Mhm.
think in a manner that is similar to what we do. So this echo chamber is actually a risk. It somewhere limits us as human beings. It limits our thought process and our ability to evolve. We will have to interact with different kinds of people. Very often you will hear youngsters say, I don't like the vibe of that person, or I just
Mhm.
can't
Right.
figure out so
Yeah.
and so person. That should set you thinking. That should not be the reason to eliminate the person from your life. What is it about their thought process that has got you triggered? What is it that is so different from you? And that kind of analysis and looking for ways you still can connect with them will ensure your people skills start evolving, right? So diversity is good. In fact, it's needed. Even at a social level today, we are facing problems because we are unable to handle diversity, right? It's looked at as a threat. So as individuals, it's our responsibility to actually get more inclusive, right? It doesn't mean we are going to agree on everything, but we need
Right.
to be able to hold dialogues, be elastic enough to get those viewpoints and those differences in. That is a part of people skills. So,
Amazing, Ayan Khan. I hope your query is answered. So, madam, with this we come to the last section, which I call it as rapid fire, which is very exciting. I expect you to answer in either one word or in one sentence, as short as possible. You can be humorous, informal, but and extempore. My first question
okay,
is here right now. One word that defines great communication.
clarity,
Great. Listening or speaking, which is more powerful?
listening.
A book you would recommend to every job seeker.
This is a tough one. Um, I would naturally be inclined to books related to EQ and communication,
Yes,
however, which I think may not be an entire
right.
solution in itself, right? So I would definitely recommend EQ by Daniel Goleman, Emotional
Wow.
Intelligence.
Yes, great. Uh, Next question is biggest communication myth you wish to bust.
That speaking more is
Okay.
good communication.
Okay. Your instant tip that boosts confidence before speaking.
Not to take on the pressure that I have to do all the speaking.
Okay. Wow. One mistake professional should avoid during interviews.
Okay, that's a list of mistakes, but the first and
One.
foremost, uh, get out of the performance mindset. You're
Okay.
not performing there.
Finally, your message to every young job seeker listening today in just one line.
You will have to prepare.
Oh, I see. Yes, that's a mantra actually, which I am, using it day in and day out. So, Junie, ma'am, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. I am sure listeners are walking away with not just those practical tips, but also a sense of encouragement to express themselves more confidently. So, viewers, remember this: your skills matter, but how you communicate those skills can make all the difference. Take those small steps every day, whether in how you listen, how you express yourself, or how you carry yourself. You'll see the world change unfold. So this was this particular episode of Let's Hear It From. My name is Ali. Keep communicating with confidence. See you soon in the next episode of Let's Hear It From soon. Bye for now.